a free, even though it's free, even though the actual the coming attraction is free and it's nothing that you can't technically broadcast. It just picked it up, so it was a copyright thing. So because it's a copyright thing, we're just going to focus on our own site and how our own site has covered Wonder Woman, and we'll go from there. We'll see the art that we've had, the cosplayers that we had, and we'll just pick it up and start over like this didn't happen. So for those of you who are joining us, we're live on YouTube. This is the second time we're going to be doing this review because of the copyright thing, both on YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to talk about Wonder Woman, and we're going to review it, and we're going to talk about it. And as we do it, you ever have one of those days where you can't seem to get a video going? I have one of those. One of my friends is trying to call, and I'll have to call him back when I'm done with the review. Hopefully that's the last interruption and we can finally get this review done. So like I said, we're going to go through. You can see Scott already did his review, and that's some art he's done. I'm going to just go over my review. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to try to get through it. And like I said, last time I did this video, this is not going to have any spoilers. It's spoiler free. It's also not going to talk about any of the political stuff behind it. This is my take on it and my take alone on it. With that said, I want to just talk about like a comic book fan, and I'm not going to get into any of those deeper things about it. I just want to talk about Wonder Woman. And as I'm talking about Wonder Woman, I'll just pop these up so you guys have something to look at as we're going. Because as you can see, Wonder Woman's a pretty big deal on our site, even as we've had loading, buffering, as we've had different things show up. This is one of the funnier ones that we've had, is that Spider-Man's checking out Wonder Woman, which is ironic considering where the movies are coming out this year. So I thought that was kind of funny. But we're just gonna, we've had the cosplaying. We had Claire Vale, who loves Wonder Woman, someone we definitely have covered. We've talked about the Wonder Woman being mixed in with other cosplays, the difference of it. So Wonder Woman's a big deal. Let's just get that out of the way. Wonder Woman's a pretty big deal. And to deny that fact, I think, is a disjustice to fandom of Wonder Woman. Just to go over quickly the brief history of Wonder Woman, and it plays into the review, in the fact that everyone seems to be having problems with it. I will say this, for those who know the origin of Wonder Woman, and a lot of people might not know this about Wonder Woman, because it's not really talked about a lot, but the actual Wonder Woman creator was heavily into bondage. And that's why in a lot of the original Wonder Womans that we wind up seeing in the comic book world, was that she was tied up, she was bound, she was made to be a slave. This was something that was a big part of who the character was in the beginning. But through the years, because we're not gonna stay on that fact, we're just gonna talk about how this was the origin of the character. And the origin of the character started out being a very sexual character, or at least sexual innuendos in the comic books. And I mean, she would get spanked over someone's knee. So we're actually constantly, I just have to tell my wife something real quick, that we are doing a video. She wanted to know real quick so she doesn't come in and interrupt. Like I said, this is just one of those days where I can't get a break while filming a video. So as I was saying, my take on the fact that she's just a quick thing, that she's changed over the last couple decades. She's not the same person she was. She's never going to be that person again. She's always going to be changing. She's always going to be different. It's always going to be something new with every generation with Wonder Woman. So she starts out as this girl who's being used to be tied up and pretty much have fantasies played out, to being a feminist cause, to being a strong role model for women, She's been more hippie-ish. She's had times where she fought the Germans. She punched out. Well, I don't think she. I think was she the one who punched Hitler? I don't remember, but I know that there was big with World War II. Obviously, I mean these things all changed over time, you know. And I think when you watch a movie, you have to understand this might not necessarily be your Wonder Woman. And you have to be ready for that when you go into watching one of these movies, that this might not be the Wonder Woman you're necessarily expecting it to be when you go to the movie. You have to understand that throughout the years, there have been very many different versions of Wonder Woman. And if you go to a Comic-Con and you go to see the cosplayers, you see that Wonder Woman is constantly reinvented through the ages, and even through comic books. There are new adaptations about who Wonder Woman is. So you kind of have to understand that when you guys are going to see a movie like this, that this might not be the movie you want as a fan, but it's going to be who you are. And that goes to a quick description of this movie. This movie is a retelling of her origin. It's based in a more, I think, contemporary manner. They've moved her out of World War II, and I'm not going to use spoilers, but most people know by now this is taking place in World War I, which is odd because the character never really interacted with World War I, to my understanding, too much. So they've kind of kicked the ball down and changed her timeline. They've made her immortal to go with everything, to better explain her. And there are other things that I won't go into because they'll spoil the movie, but there are changes to the character. My first impression of the title, honestly, was the casting, and the casting of Gal Gadot bothered me. She was not what I expected Wonder Woman to look like. I was disappointed by her being cast in the role. I was not happy with it at all. And to her credit, and now to understand why I was not happy with her, we have to go back to my expectation of Wonder Woman. And my expectation of Wonder Woman was, wow, that was not the good one. We're going to have to look at that one later. My expectation for Wonder Woman was the blue-eyed, black curly hair Wonder Woman that we all kind of know and have seen. And, you know, I was kind of wanted a character that looks like that. I like it when they look like the comic book character, exactly like the comic. The closer to looking like their comic book version, the better for me. And that's just who I am, because I've been fans of these characters for so long. And sometimes changes, they bother me when they do it in the movie and they change it and it doesn't make sense and it's not the character I want to necessarily see. But that's not to say that sometimes changes aren't good. So in this particular case, they went with someone, and everyone was like, has talked about her figure, and her figure wasn't right, or she didn't look like it. To me, the biggest thing were the blue eyes. Believe it or not, it really came down to blue eyes. They just made it such a big deal that I guess Batman, Superman, and her all had blue eyes. And I kind of expected that from this Wonder Woman, and she didn't have it. But I went into it with an open mind because, again, I understood this isn't necessarily the Wonder Woman I know. I look at these movies as Elseworlds. For those who don't know what Elseworlds are, they're alternative realities. So maybe something's changed, and for some reason she doesn't have blue eyes. So she didn't necessarily fit up. I thought the Alexandra girl from Blind Spot would have been so much better. She looked amazing in Thor. I thought she would have looked more like the part. With that said, after watching the film and seeing her interact with Chris Pine, I have to say I think she did a fantastic job. She might not look exactly like I would have wanted Wonder Woman to look like, but I think she did pull it off very well. I think the fight scenes, I think the way that she moved, it impressed me. I was very impressed by her, and I was surprised by that because I didn't think she was a bad actress. I guess I hadn't really seen her in too much yet, and I didn't really know a lot about her. And I found out later that she actually served in the army in Israel, so she's a lot more badass than I even thought she was. So I mean, shut my mouth. She proved me wrong, and I think her acting was great. So while my first impression of the title was that they were trying to tell an origin and it might screw things up, she changed that, and that's to her credit. And our third question is usually, was I entertained and excited to turn the page? And in this case, because we're not turning pages, it was I excited and engaged with the movie? Did it leave me at the edge of my seat, as they say, and it definitely kept me entertained and it kept going. And the one thing I want to say, and it's not a spoiler, is that you don't need to know anything about the comic books, because this really does a good job of setting its own framework up where it doesn't, not to say that there aren't nods to comic book fans. There are definitely nods to comic book fans. There's even a nod to the cartoon. So it's in there. You know, like if you're a fan, you're going to see it. But if you're not a fan, if you're taking your date with you and you want them to see Wonder Woman with you, they're going to find a great movie. And I thought that was really good. And that's the one thing I give DC credit for. I think there's a lot of heat on DC, and I think DC is expected to conform to the Marvel format where it's got to be this popcorn movie. And I think DC spends a lot more time with character development than Marvel does, and I'm really excited about that. And I think they did a great job on character development for Wonder Woman, and I think they really did bring her to life very well and in a very big fashion. Were the characters relatable and interesting? I think the characters were extremely interesting. I don't know if it was relatable necessarily, but you could understand the construct of their emotions and how they felt and why they did the things they did. And it was definitely there was a lot of more emotional highs and lows in the movie than I expected it to be, and I kind of like that. I kind of like the range of emotion you go through on the journey with Wonder Woman throughout the movie. What were my overall thoughts of the movie were the fact that it was really good. And I think that, like I said, I think it all comes down to this. You have to go into a movie, whether it be Marvel, DC, any movie. If you've ever read the book, read the comic book, seen the cartoon series, if you have seen something and you have now dedicated yourself to being a fan of just that, do not go see the film, because you're not going to be happy. If you can't go into it open-minded, you're not going to be happy. But if you're someone who knows who Wonder Woman is and you're willing to give it a chance and really give it a chance, not go in there to look for something that's wrong. So let me tell you, the worst thing in life you can do is look for a reason to be upset. When I went into this movie, I didn't think I was going to like it, but I also didn't want to not like it. I didn't look for a reason to like it. I went in hoping it was good. And I was very excited to hear the good reviews that were coming out. I was very excited to hear that people were watching it, were excited. And I went into it with that mindset. And if you go into it with that mindset, if you go into it expecting to be entertained and letting them entertain you, this is a movie that will do that. Can you pick apart things and say, that's not right, I don't like that? Of course you can, but you can't. And I say this to people all the time. You can't do that. You can't look at everything with this, I'm going to find a reason to dislike it bullshit. Because it is bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. If you look for a reason to hate, you're going to find a reason to hate. Same as if you look for a reason to like something, you're going to find something to like about it. And it's just how you want to see this movie. Because there's a lot to like in this movie. And there's even stuff to love about this movie, including great storytelling. And as a writer, I think it was a very well-told story. Now, I know there's some people who would have wanted to see a stronger female character, and someone wanted to see maybe different casting. And I know there was even talking about how Wonder Woman maybe shouldn't have been white. And you start getting into all that noise, and you stop realizing that it's a movie for entertainment. Even comic books, the things that we create, as a creator, I'm doing things to entertain people. I'm not doing things to appease the masses. I'm not doing things to make everyone happy in the world. I'm doing something that I'm creating, and I'm hoping people like what I create. But I'm also creating to be entertained by it. I think that people in this generation are always looking for something to be mad about. Speaking of the guy who called, that's actually him. It's my best friend, Alex. He actually just called in. But if you go into movies with this idea, especially comic book movies, like, oh, it's going to be horrible because this, or that. I mean, I had my apprehension about the movie and about the casting, but it doesn't stop me from showing up and giving it a chance, you know? And I think that, like, you gotta, like, I mean, this is someone else's telling of this story, and we have to understand that. I mean, I don't like Gotham, the television show, as a Batman series, but I watch it because I think it's entertaining as a show. And I think sometimes you got to look at it that. Luckily, this Wonder Woman doesn't go far off the mark. I think it does a good job at treating it treats the source material with respect. And I think that's impressive. And I do recommend this, and you guys have seen it, and I flashed it a couple times by accident. I'm gonna say it, this is Anderson Improved. It was good. It really entertained me. I was impressed by how much it entertained me. Actually, I was happy. I was thrilled that I get to do this review because I really do think that the creation of this world that they're creating is going to be fantastic, and I think that we need to give it. I mean, I didn't like the Jared Leto Joker at all. I don't blame Jared Leto. I understand what he went for. I just don't like that as the Joker. I didn't like the character the way it was, but that's not going to stop me from being a fan of the Joker or stop me from going to see a DC movie. I understood that was someone's concept on it, and I can talk about it as a fan. And the same thing with this movie. You're going to be able to go into it, and you're going to be able to find either problems with it or find reasons to like it. And you have to understand that there are a lot of reasons to like this film, and there are fewer to dislike it. If you're going to go into it as a loyalist about Wonder Woman, you also have to realize who are you being loyal to? What generation of Wonder Woman are you being loyal to at this point? And that's something important that I think that fans often forget, is that the characters themselves, especially Wonder Woman, especially Superman, especially Batman, have been through a lot of changes in the last couple decades. So always keep that in mind. Always go into it, and go into it with anything. When you read a comic book, when you watch a brand new movie, a brand new series, if you go into it with a bad mentality, you're going to find a reason to not enjoy yourself, and life is about enjoyment. If you're going to commit to watching something, find a reason to enjoy it, because it's your time you're wasting if you're going to be upset. Unless you like being upset. And I mean, if you like being upset, go for yours. Talk about all the negativity about it. But again, I mean, like, just going back to what I said, I'm a big person who wants to see characters look like they are in the comic books. Like, I think the best Batman that could have ever been was the voice of the Batman from through the animated series. And everyone who's actually met Kevin Conroy knows that he actually looks like that. Like, he could be a Batman. He's tall and all that, and that's a certain things you look for. And when it came to Wonder Woman, I don't think that the actress they picked necessarily fit it for my depiction, but I mean, it was just a different telling, and they did something unique and interesting, and the actress pulled it off. And I now see why they picked her, because I've gotten to watch the film, and I got to see what she could do with it. And a lot of times we don't get to be there on the casting couch and make the decision of who's going to be cast as what. So we have to give him a chance. I was for Ben Affleck for Batman. I still like him as Batman. I get a lot of heat from that for some people. So everyone talks about Daredevil. Guess what? I like Daredevil. I also saw the extended cut of Daredevil that filled in a lot of holes. I also saw the extended cut of Batman versus Superman that makes it worth it. And I totally see why it should have been 2 movies. I'm just saying that when you're going to the movies and you're going to watch a movie, and I want to stress this in this review, just because of all the drama that I've heard about this movie. This movie's had a lot of drama. You want to talk badly about a movie like Transformers, we can talk about how there's a lot of gaping holes in Transformers. And that's because of the director. And I have a lot of problems with how he handles it. But I go see it and I go enjoy myself. And I think that a lot of people are missing that point. You're supposed to be going to a movie to enjoy it, not to go to social media and try to shit on something. And I'm saying this in a very polite fashion, that a lot of people who are doing reviews, you all need to kind of realize that you're wasting your life trying to shit on something someone else made, because you're not doing anything positive in life. You're just making fun of something someone else did. And what have you done? How have you put yourself out there? And granted, there are going to be bad things to talk about, but why not talk about the good? And that's one thing that really bothered me about this, and I wanted to talk about while reviewing this, was the fact that everyone found a reason to dislike it, but it's a good movie. It really is a good movie. And if you read most reviews, the people who are hating it don't even sound like they watched the movie. And that bothers me. And then you get other people who are afraid to talk about how it was good. And you get people making comments. And it's just ridiculous. Can we get past this culture where we're instantly trying to hurt each other and we're deliberately trying to say nasty things? You know, everyone who talks about Wonder Woman and, oh, I know what Wonder Woman is. Did you know that she was heavily into bondage and the creator of it was into bondage? Is that something you knew? Because I bet you don't. I bet you a lot of people don't know that about her origin, especially nowadays, because they don't talk about it because it's not PC. You know, I'm politically correct. I'm just not a fan of politically correct. I think there's a way you should act, and I'm a fan of civility. I don't like PC. And I think that people think it's now okay to shit on people's work, but it's not. You know, if you don't like Wonder Woman, that's fine. I understand that and I respect your opinion. But have your own opinion. Don't squawk other people's opinions and don't look for a reason to hate something necessarily. And I say this to you as human to human, giving you something, some little piece of advice that I hope you do take. It's your life. It's your time. Do you want to spend your time talking negatively about something else? Even if it was something you didn't like, is that how you want to spend your time on the earth? Or would you rather spend your time talking about things that you really like? And I'm not talking about having a conversation with friends. I'm talking about the people who spend hours online talking about stupid things, about movies like this, where people are taking things out of context and making it something ugly that wasn't meant to be ugly. And I think that needs to end, and I think it ends with us, the fans. And I think we need to put an end to it. And I think we need to stand up for something like this, because I do think Wonder Woman is one of those movies that we should be standing behind because it was good. And when something's good, as comic book fans, we need to stand up and say, no, it's good. It might not be perfect, but nothing's going to be perfect, because to be perfect, it'd have to make everyone happy, and that's impossible. Not everyone's always going to be happy. That's it. That's all I hope. I hope that you guys go see the movie with open eyes, and I hope you go to see it to be entertained and enjoy your life. I hope you don't go with this idea that you want to be part of the masses finding a reason to hate something, because that's not a good life to live. So when it comes to things like this, I really hope that you give it a chance, because I think it tells a great story for me. And even if it doesn't tell a great story, I hope that you go on with your life and you don't become obsessive about, shitting on something someone else did. It's okay to have an opinion when you're going to go around telling people all these things and making movies agendas and trying to make people feel bad for being fans of something. I think that's horrible. And I really hope that we can stop doing that. And I think it starts with us comic book fans, because most of the people starting those fires aren't comic book fans. They don't give a shit. They're just trying to start fires. We need to stop paying attention to them. We need to start respecting the characters we love and giving them a chance and letting them go on new platforms and supporting them on new platforms. That was my opinion of Wonder Woman. Go out and see it. Make up your own mind. But don't spend too much time talking about it, negatively or positively. Go out and live your life. If you're a comic book creator, go create new worlds. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me on this review. Please, please, please always be positive in how you say things online. Be part of the movement towards being civil again online. Even if you disagree with something, there's a way to disagree with it civilly. And there's a way to say something without being nasty about it. So if you are going to say something negative, make a good point about it and then move on. All right, guys, you go enjoy the rest of your day. I look forward to talking to you all soon. All right, YouTube, part 2 is done. We're done. I'll catch you later.